Coming up, Mike Klis will join us, Broncos reporter for Denver 9 News. We'll dive into all of the coaching search to finally end up with Sean Payton, but flying to Ann Arbor to meet with Harbaugh. DeMeco Ryans, did they try to go back around and get him from signing with Houston as their head coach? Mike will have the latest for us. That's coming up in 8 minutes. Chad, everyone's been chiming in. Current players, those involved with the NFL, past and present, in regards to reaction with Tom Brady's retirement announcement. Sean O'Hara, longtime offensive lineman, was on Good Morning Football, and, his comparison's a bit odd.
This is a huge moment, not just for Tom Brady, not just for the NFL, but like for all of us. Look, people remember where they were when JFK was assassinated. Remember where you were with 9/11.
Can I tell you something? Can I interrupt you real quick? His first start was a week after 9/11. That's how long ago he's been playing.
I came out in the same year as him, 2000, and he's still playing. 23 years. That's a long time. But I'm going to remember this. Like, I'm going to remember who I'm with. Kyle's going to remember he was in Vegas. You're going to remember where you were when Tom Brady announced his official retirement. And it sounds like this one's for real.
So, he's on Good Morning Football, NFL Network. Sean O'Hara is trying to say he will remember where he was when he found out Tom Brady was retiring for a second time. But tying it into world events and legitimate things that, are not a game, right? Like, that's the odd part about it. I get his overall point of he's going to remember where he was. That just doesn't hit the same when you're trying to make the point and you bring up, the world events and the tragedies.
So, look, we talk into a microphone for 3 hours a day. So I get it. You're going to say some dumb things or things you wish you had back that you didn't articulate the right way or didn't use the right words or didn't find the right word. And that's going to happen. Overall, I'm not going to crush Sean O'Hara. I understand what he's trying to say, but there should be something that goes off in your brain when you talk about Tom Brady retirement day and compare that to JFK assassination day and 9/11, that just instinctively tells you to say, I realize those were real life events that are big moments and are way more historically significant.
But
I'm just saying I'm going to remember where I was when all of these events happened. I'm not comparing the events. I'm comparing the moment you found out about the events. That should be an automatic signifier in the brain when you mention those three things together. So for that, not the smartest way to put it all together,
right.
But I'm not going to crush the guy because
in fact,
you're going to say some dumb things.
It's a great pull by Peter Schrager there to interrupt, jump in and say it was his first start was the week after 9/11.
I also thought it was interesting that his mind immediately went to, hey, you mentioned 9/11. Let me jump in on. It's just a weird thing on Good Morning Football to say, let me jump in on the JFK assassination. Have you seen the Oliver Stone film? I don't know how you break that up when you're comparing Brady retirement day to all of that. But
how do we separate the coaching search for the Denver Broncos? What's real? What didn't happen behind the scenes? And ultimately, how did they get their guy in Sean Payton? Mike Klis joins us when we return from Denver. We'll dive into all the issues and how does he fix Russell Wilson? That's next on OutKick 360.
College football's in trouble. There's a lot of people trying to keep it from happening.
I think it's a general consensus across the college football landscape. We want to play football.
College football is a huge part of the fall. It's a huge part of Americana itself.
It just really felt like people in the country needed college football to just feel a little sense of normal.
Well, big news from the Big Ten as the conference releasing its 10-game football schedule.
We go home thinking that we're going to be practicing the next day. Everybody gets a text, stay home, everything's canceled.
Big Ten fall football season has been canceled.
We just believe collectively there's too much uncertainty.
I guess what I'm trying to understand, though, Kevin, is that was the same position you had 6 days ago.
The Big Ten is an unmitigated disaster.
There was a ton of confusion. There was presidents saying one thing, there was coaches saying another.
Players had to be silent, coaches had to be silent, ADs had to be silent.
People said, how does what you just did make any sense?
And nobody really knew what the heck happened when they voted to cancel the season.
You make this huge historical announcement, and then Kevin Warren never does a press conference to explain it. It was like a masterclass in how not to handle a crisis.
The word really that was lacking in all of this is transparency.
It felt like a lot of stuff was happening behind closed doors.
Even today, we still don't know what occurred.
So you don't tell us parents, that's fine, but you're not telling the young men that it affects.
We have to make a decision to save the season. What about the history books? What about the rivalry games? What about Paul Bunyan's axe? How is that not going to go to a team this year?
This is a failure of epic magnitude. The Big Ten presidents and leaders should be held accountable for the disastrous decisions that they're making.
Then the commissioner doubles down, saying his decision will not be revisited.
And that's the point. It felt like a war was declared on the Big Ten and Kevin Warren.
Everything turned political.
Because if this is medical, then you would have stopped the game of football a long time ago.
I think the Big Ten leaders will tell you that they probably made a mistake in hindsight.
If I had the chance to do it all over last year, I would make the same decisions that we made.
Just like that, the second hour is here. Glad you're with us across the OutKick Network. Putney Withrow with you. Coming up in an hour, Pro Football Hall of Fame finalist DeMarcus Ware will join us on the show. And then the Gunz Show, Mike Gunzelman. He's on around an hour and 20 minutes from now from OutKick.com. He is in studio with us here at 6th and Peabody with Yeehaw Beer and Old Smoky Moonshine. Armando Salguero will also join us in between. We'll get the latest and his reaction to Brady's retirement, which, by the way, currently, as it stands, I say that because we were going through this process last year, Tom Brady and J.J. Watt will be in the same Hall of Fame class. So, if off your discussion yesterday about Aaron Rodgers, can you imagine a Hall of Fame class with Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, J.J. Watt?
Maybe the best ever.
I mean,
I'd have to go through the history of Hall of Fame classes, but can't be many better than that, that's for sure.
Chad, what's going on with Iowa and Illinois and some ticket issue and controversy between fan bases?
I love spicy stories like this with fans and other schools. So Illinois has this fan group called the Orange Crush with a K.
Okay.
And apparently they pick one road game to go to a year. And they buy a bunch of tickets and go and support Illinois. So they picked the Iowa game this year. Iowa game upcoming. They bought 200 tickets together to go to Iowa City, to watch this game. And they released this huge statement that they were told this week, upon Iowa figuring out that this was an Illinois fan group, that all of their tickets were basically disavowed.
Okay.
They were given a refund, and they're not allowed to go. They go on to say that's unfortunate. They didn't give us enough time to cancel charter buses, to cancel hotels, and everything else for this huge group. So Iowa obviously gets crushed over this, right? Immediately.
Surface level headline, yeah.
Yeah, it's like you sold the tickets. Are you really that scared, that weak, that you're going to, give 200 tickets back and not let them pay for it because you sold to them? So then Iowa, this is today, they released a statement saying the Iowa Athletics Department became aware of a discounted group ticket order for the Iowa-Illinois men's basketball game on behalf of an Illinois chapter of the Boys and Girls Club. In following up with that organization, it became clear this was not factual. When contacting the individual who made the original ticket order, they admitted to falsely ordering tickets under the nonprofit organization. Iowa Athletics has refunded the original ticket order and donated tickets to the Boys and Girls Club of Cedar Rapids. We look forward to welcoming these kids to a sold-out Carver Hawkeye Arena this Saturday. Now, this is a great job of PR to save face. If you're Iowa,
it's perfect.
If the tickets were purchased under false pretense the way they claim, Iowa has the right to do that. I would also say just let them have the tickets. Right? I mean,
yeah, but if you're doing it for the discount, then
yeah, they got the discount with
that's
claiming
wrong.
they were that. So I guess Iowa wins in this little back and forth in the end. And they're giving the tickets away to the charity, to the Boys and Girls Club of Cedar Rapids, Iowa instead, which was a good move by them.
Great pull here. I hadn't seen that on social. Speaking of winning, Denver wins the bidding for Sean Payton. And with more, we say hello to Mike Klis from 9 News out in Denver, longtime Broncos reporter. Mike, thank you for the time and perspective today, man. We appreciate you.
Sure, they won the bidding. That's we hadn't put it like that, but I suppose you're right. They did win the bidding.
Yeah, and I mean, he was the hottest name. We talked about him all year, and I mean, ultimately, whenever he had the chat with New Orleans about the compensation, we got the sense that he wanted to get back into coaching. Was Sean Payton number one on their list, or does the last week of all the reporting, Mike, and you'll know, of flying Ann Arbor, or trying to get what's going on with Houston and trying to make sure that DeMeco Ryans, here's another offer. What really happened in what was a back and forth between 3 coaches that they wanted?
Yeah, first of all, it's a little complicated. Had Sean Payton, the Broncos, Greg Penner and George Payton, Condoleezza Rice, had identified Sean Payton as the best head coaching candidate for the Broncos pretty much throughout. It was kind of tied between him and Jim Harbaugh going in. They were the guys to beat because they were proven winners. They were experienced. The Broncos' 3 previous head coaches were first-time head coaches. Didn't work out. All 3 of them wound up getting fired before the end of their contracts. So they wanted an experienced head coach if they could. And going into the process, Jim Harbaugh, with all his success, and Sean Payton, with all his NFL success, were the guys to beat. DeMeco Ryans then impressed the group with his interview. They took another look. They had done research on him and talked to a lot of people, and he looks like a very special coaching talent. Leadership, times 25. He's just a tremendous leader. So there were times, because Sean Payton had the draft pick compensation attached, and there were times where he was not the leading candidate. They looked at Jim Harbaugh. Harbaugh twice said he was going back to Michigan. They looked at DeMeco Ryans. DeMeco's wife, Jamila, is from Houston, has all kinds of family there, mom, dad, brothers, sisters. And so that became for personal reasons. Plus, DeMeco was drafted by the Texans, a real strong personal attachment that DeMeco Ryans had to the Houston area, much less the Texans. So when that passed, I would say Thursday of last week, even though Sean Payton was there and they were talking to him all along, there was dialogue all along, there was a maybe all along, I would say Thursday night of last week, it really zeroed in on Sean Payton. And so that's where it was. But they had to get that compensation down. They gave up 2 firsts and 2 seconds last year for Russell Wilson. So they weren't ideally suited to get a coach who was also going to require top draft picks. So the Broncos wound up getting Mickey Loomis down to the first round pick, which was number 29 overall. And then they flipped the 2024 draft pick compensation. Broncos give up a second. That's diluted by getting back a third. So ultimately, the way the Broncos looked at it is they traded Bradley Chubb because they got that first round pick that they gave to New Orleans. That first round pick they had acquired in midseason for Bradley Chubb from Miami. So I think in the Broncos' minds, it was Bradley Chubb for Sean Payton. And they'd like to keep them both. They love Bradley Chubb, and they're going to miss Bradley Chubb. But the head coach is one of the top 2 most important people in the NFL game, the head coach and the quarterback. And the fact that the Broncos put all this investment in the quarterback last year, Russell Wilson, and he fell off from his previous experience. Sean Payton, as the head coach, not only fixes head coach, but it's 2-1. They hope he's also the guy to fix Russell Wilson. And so that's why he became number 1. He became the best choice in the end. He was always the best choice in the beginning, but the strings attached brought other candidates, Jim Harbaugh and DeMeco Ryans, into the conversation.
And it felt a bit like a college search with the reports that they Penner and George Payton, the general manager, flew to Ann Arbor to get a face-to-face chat with Jim Harbaugh. How did that come about, and what really happened with that dynamic? I took it as they were circling back to all 3, and they were not going to leave this coaching search without one of the 3. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I think so. I do think so. It wasn't George Payton who went. It was Greg Penner and his wife, Carrie, who went to Ann Arbor for this covert meeting with Jim Harbaugh. It did get out. It got out 2 or 3 days later about that meeting. And I'm not sure how far it went as far as, was there an understanding that an offer was made? There wasn't really officially an offer made from what I understand. I do think from what I understand, they had agreed to kind of continue to go forward. And then the next morning, near as I can tell, Jim Harbaugh called the Penner back and said, no, I can't leave my guys. And so that's the best as I understand it, and talking to a lot of people. The Broncos say no offer was ever made, and that's probably officially correct, technically correct, but they're obviously interested. Otherwise, you don't go see him.
Right.
9 days after he had already committed to going back to Michigan. So Harbaugh was there. And then when the timing was such, when Harbaugh said no, that's when DeMeco kind of jumped to the forefront. And that lasted about 24 hours. And DeMeco put out word that he wanted to go to Houston. So then that's when they started really zeroing in on Sean Payton. And again, they always knew Sean Payton was the right guy because he's the only guy of the candidates, or it's the quarterback whisperer for Russell Wilson. See, Jim Harbaugh is a heck of a head coach, great head coach, and he did wonders with the quarterbacks in the 49ers. Alex Smith was basically a number 1 overall bust that he resurrected into a 13-3 NFC Championship game quarterback. Then he goes the next year to Colin Kaepernick, this raw, untested athlete who could fire the ball 100 miles an hour. And he got, he had first and goal at the 5, second and goal at the 5 in the Super Bowl to beat his brother. Didn't complete the passes and lost the game. Harbaugh was that, but as far as working with quarterbacks, Sean Payton was even better than Jim Harbaugh. Harbaugh, was a great candidate for setting the culture and establishing a winning program, as he's done everywhere. University of San Diego, Stanford, 49ers, Michigan. They were both. Another thing that they liked about both Harbaugh and Sean Payton is that they're tough coaches. They're tough on players. They're tough on their coaches. After Nathaniel Hackett, who had the bro hug style and make things fun, I still think that style works too. And it didn't work here, so they wanted to go kind of 180 from that. They wanted tough coaching. They wanted to put these players who have lost for 6 or 7 years on edge. And so that's why Payton and Harbaugh were the top two to beat. The compensation of the draft picks was a problem, but they got around it as best they could. They still had to give up quite a bit. I think the Saints won too. Sean Payton wasn't their coach, and they got a first-round pick. They were motivated to get something, because had the Broncos not finished the deal for Sean Payton, the Saints probably would have been left with nothing. So, they did a good job getting that first-round pick for a coach that basically wasn't theirs anymore. And Broncos gave up a little more than that they wanted to, but not near as bad as the Saints initially asked for. Saints initially asked for 2 first rounds and a second round, which was the deal John Gruden created when he went from Oakland to Tampa Bay in 2002. And they got him down from there.
Hey, Mike, first off, thanks for joining us, and condolences for having to sit and cover the entirety of Nathaniel Hackett's tenure as a head coach. I know that had to be painful to watch. It was painful to watch Russell Wilson this year in that Nathaniel Hackett offense. I guess the main question I have for Sean Payton and the Broncos moving forward is Russell Wilson able to be fixed at this point in his career? Because we know that's Payton's number one task.
Yeah, first of all, I'm not ready to say it was Nathaniel Hackett's fault. I think we need another year of context before really drawing the final conclusion on what wrong with the Broncos in 2022. Obviously, it was a disaster of a season. And but why right now they're going to blame Hackett? He took the brunt of the fall. And the feeling is the verdict is still out on Russell Wilson. And we'll see if Sean Payton can fix that. If he can't, then we will know it wasn't Hackett. So that's what you're going to find out. I personally, as I sit here today, Russell Wilson played well at times, enough times, and played well in the last 2 games when they changed the offense for him. I think he has a chance to get back to Russell Wilson of years past with the Seattle Seahawks. Maybe not the 2013, 2014, 2019 version of Russell Wilson, but the 2020 and 21 before he got hurt, that version of Russell Wilson. He's not, he's an athletic quarterback, and he has lost a little bit athletically as terms of burst and speed. But when he did take off and run, and it usually happened at the end of games, he looked pretty good. So I think Sean Payton said on his Fox telecast during the year, he would look at Russell Wilson's greatest hits from Seattle when he was asked how to fix them. He'd look at his greatest hits, top 40 plays, and, reestablish the offense that fits, that gets Russell Wilson to do that again. So I think rather than the shotgun pocket quarterback, stay in the pocket passer that Russell Wilson tried to become in 2022, I think you're going to see him. First of all, you're going to see a greater emphasis on the running game. I think he's going to call the play that Sean Payton calls, not audible as much as he did at the line that we heard he did quite a bit. Not audible out of runs. You're running the ball here, and then your play action. I think if that happens, and I think Russell Wilson will be an effective quarterback for the Broncos in 2023. And if not, I think Sean Payton will be the type that say, "Sorry, Russ, you're not getting it done. We're putting somebody else in," and then we'll take it from there and see how that develops. But that's a hypothetical. But I do think Sean Payton and Russell Wilson, I think it's going to work as best as it possibly can for Russell Wilson.
My first reaction to the Sean Payton trade and then signing him with the Broncos was, this is a move fitting of a Walton. And then I start thinking about the Walton, now the richest, not just deal, but the richest group to own an NFL team. Have you been able to tell anything about what this could look like now with Rob Walton and his group owning the Denver Broncos and what that may look like moving forward?
Well, they're going to have all resources is not going to be a problem. But they had resources, believe it or not, they had resources before. When Joe Wallace was running the team, the Broncos still, for 5 years, when Joe Wallace and John Elway were running the team, the Broncos won 5 AFC West championships and went to 2 Super Bowls and won 1 in 2015. Now, that same leadership group, it didn't get it done in the last 5 or 6 years. And they struggle with a quarterback, they struggle with the coach. And so it's not, ownership only comes into play. Someone told me this. There's 4 pillars to an NFL team. It's the owner, it's the general manager, it's the head coach, and it's the quarterback. Those are the 4 pillars to a successful NFL franchise. Really, the only time ownership comes into play. And this is why some of the cheaper owners still have good teams. The only time ownership comes into play is when there's one of those other 3 pillars that are crumbling. And right now the head coach crumbled, so to speak, and so the owner stepped in and got the best coach, and no expense was spared. Sean Payton's not coming cheap. Jim Harbaugh wasn't going to come cheap. Rob Walton, by the way, is the controlling owner, but he's really left the operations of the team to his son-in-law, Greg Penner. Greg Penner is the CEO, and he's running the team. His wife, Carrie, is very much involved. Condoleezza Rice, who has just a small percentage of the team financially, has a lot of hand in the team. So she was part of the ownership search. So they'll have every available resource. They had it before, but that's why I say it's about the coach and the quarterback and the GM too, George Payton, to get this right.
Russell Wilson to Denver, one of the top storylines of last year, and it remains there, now paired with Sean Payton for the Broncos. Mike Klis covers the Broncos for 9 News, longtime Broncos reporter there. Mike, thank you for the perspective. Appreciate you as always, and no doubt with this storyline progressing, we'll check back in.
All right, thanks a lot, guys. Appreciate it.
There's Mike Klis, and coming up, Armando Salguero will join us. Looking at it from the league-wide storyline angle, we lead with Tom Brady. There are still 2 openings with the Arizona Cardinals and the Indianapolis Colts. We'll get Armando's take on that, and a defensive coach that seems like was able to listen to offers from Sean Payton to the Broncos that chose to stay where he was. We'll tell you that next on OutKick 360.
It's so crazy because Tom Brady is just a touch older than me. I believe now there are no NFL players older than me, which that's the first time in my life I can say that.
Okay.
So now I feel really old. Now I feel truly and really old.
I'm sorry, man. God, that's horrible. I didn't know that feeling.
Maybe there's a punter or a kicker. I have to check. Maybe I'm hoping there's like an old, like a long time punter, kicker, or a long snapper that's older than me, but I don't think so. And it's amazing to me thinking about Brady the last few years. Like, I know how I feel when I wake up in the morning. I can't even imagine attempting to play in the NFL like this.
Right? Yeah. I mean, I don't even know if last season should have happened, but that's not up for me. It's not for anybody to sit there and argue.
I don't have the drive Tom Brady has. I'm very willing to admit that.
Right.
It seemed to me, just as an outsider, with no inside information whatsoever, that he retired and that he engaged in normal life for the first time in a long time. I was like, yeah, this sucks. I'm getting back to the NFL.
I don't like the daycare thing. I love my kids, but I don't like dropping it off. I don't want to go play pickleball at 3:00 in the afternoon. Like, let's get back to normal. But it'd be interesting. Like, I don't know if we'll see another quarterback take it that far, Andy, in the NFL. Like, he really pushed
got
the
Aaron
limits,
Rodgers,
right?
Yeah, you got Aaron Rodgers going to be 39. You got him hinting at retirement now, and it does feel like the game's maybe taking a little more toll on his body than Brady. Maybe there's some ayahuasca that'll fix that, but it's crazy that it lasted this long. I mean, I think back to how much my life is. I graduated college in 2000, and working my first job, watching Tom Brady lead the Patriots when they were the underdogs to the win against the Rams in the Super Bowl, and thinking, well, that's a cool story. 6th-round guy, hope the career works out for him. And the level of winning and just consistency, I'm not sure we're going to see it again.
No. And I don't, especially with a quarterback who has that tenacity, he also puts in everything into the game. Like, it's like he can't take a breather. And it just, he has a different workflow. It kind of reminded me of what Kobe Bryant used to do in the NBA. Or you can go on and name them on. But now, but I'm interested to see now, what that looks like in the future, and does this, and I'll ask you this, because this news could break while we're down here in Mobile. Todd Monken, Georgia offensive coordinator. Does this make room for him now to potentially say, okay, I can go to Tampa, we can go find a quarterback that works for me in my system, and maybe take over the offensive coordinator position? What have your thoughts been on the Monken Buccaneer stuff?
Are you ready for Stetson Bennett as the Buccaneers starting quarterback? Are we ready to live in a world where Stetson Bennett makes that pirate ship go boom? Can
I'm
that
excited.
happen?
It can in the 6th round.
It's very interesting because, Monken, I think, you look at that tenure with Jameis Winston in Tampa, it didn't go as well as anybody would have wanted. And maybe Monken going, well, if I had a different quarterback, one who didn't put the ball in harm's way as often, perhaps that works out.
One of our favorite segments of the week. Armando Salguero joins us as we return here on OutKick 360 on the OutKick Network. Armando, hope you're well. And Chad and I were surprised with Brady's retirement announcement. What was your initial reaction?
Well, if you guys were surprised, I'm sticking with you.
Okay.
I was surprised. Now in hindsight, obviously, he did it on February 1st. He did it on February 1st last year and then changed his mind in March of last year. He's not changing his mind this time. And, I talked to his quarterback coach, Clyde Christensen, who was his quarterback coach the last 3 years. And Clyde said something that resonated with me. And he said it was kind of sad because we've kind of grown up with the NFL and Tom Brady. It's an entire generation of people on the planet who have never seen NFL games that have not included games that included Tom Brady on particular weeks. And that is coming now, in 2023. I don't think I like that. I don't think I like that at all. I enjoy watching a great master do his job. That's why I love your show. But
yeah, Chad's here.
Yeah, thank you. I love how you use master, not plural, when you said that, Armando. I do appreciate that you think I'm masterful at my job.
I think of you guys as one.
Yeah, that's right.
You are
Chutton.
one heartbeat.
We're
Chutton. We're just combined into one individual. That's right.
You're one heartbeat. And, so look, he's going to go do what he's going to go do, and it's the next chapter, and goody for him. But I don't love it.
How would you describe his season on the field?
Challenged on and off.
Yeah.
And again, Clyde made it very, very clear. So to recap, he lost his left guard to retirement. He lost his right guard to free agency. On the second day of training camp, the center goes down with an injury that kept him out the entire regular season. Rob Gronkowski, his security blanket, retired. And I spoke to Rob Gronkowski a couple of weeks ago, and he's not coming back and wasn't coming back next year. So there's that. They had Godwin, who was coming off a major ACL, MCL repair and wasn't himself all year long. And on top of that, they couldn't run the ball. They had the, I think, 31st or 32nd ranked run game in the NFL. So you've got no protection, no run game, no interior line, which has been his problem in the past. You don't have your security blanket. Julio Jones isn't really that guy anymore and hasn't been for a few years. And oh yeah, your wife is divorcing you and you're worried about when you can see your children and getting that sorted out as well. Yeah, pretty crappy all around.
So when you eliminate Tom Brady from that game of quarterback musical chairs that's about to take place this offseason, does it make that picture more clear for you, Armando? Or is it still so muddled at this point that it's hard to put two and two together about where every available quarterback is going to fall?
Right. So clearly this was going to be a two-pronged quarterback carousel offseason. Brady was unrestricted, and we were wondering what he's going to do. And then the other prong is Aaron Prong Rodgers, because he's got to decide whether he's going to play or not. And then once he makes that decision, then the Green Bay Packers will decide, will he play here or will we trade him, go with Jordan Love, and he can go elsewhere. So the whole Aaron Rodgers situation is the next big thing that will happen. It won't happen until after the Super Bowl because Aaron Rodgers has a lot of respect for the teams in the game and the game itself, and about to take any attention away from that, at least according to him. And so after that, you've got Derek Carr, you've got Matt Ryan, you got Baker Mayfield, you got Sam Darnold. Those are not guys that I think most teams are thinking we'll add them and we're Super Bowl bound.
Armando Salguero, our guest from OutKick.com on OutKick 360. Seeing the reports that in Indy, they're going for a round 3 of interviews. Meanwhile, we still don't know what Arizona's going to do either. What do you make of the two openings? And I mean, are you in the camp that it's Jeff Saturday in Indy and we're just waiting on this? Like, what? Why do we need a round 3 if that's the case?
I'm in the camp of it's stupid is as stupid does in Indy because so look at the list of people that they've interviewed. Rich Bisaccia, who's very good as a special teams guy. He was the Raiders interim coach last year. Brian Callahan, offensive coordinator of the Bengals. Ejiro Evero of the Broncos, defensive coordinator. Wink Martindale is the Giants defensive coordinator. Raheem Morris is the defensive coordinator of the Rams. Aaron Glenn is the defensive coordinator of the Lions. And Saturday was the interim coach. Where's John Harbaugh? Where's Jim Harbaugh in that? Because to me, make the case that any of those guys are more accomplished than Jim Harbaugh.
44-19-1, I think, is the record for Harbaugh, to your point.
Right. And, I mean, he played in Indy. They called him Captain Comeback, right? I covered the game. This is how old I am. I covered that AFC Championship game where the Harbaugh and the Colts, well, it wasn't an AFC Championship game. It was a divisional game, whatever it was. They went to Pittsburgh. Harbaugh throws a Hail Mary, the last play of the game, and it was almost caught, and it would have changed NFL history right there. But the point being that, to me, he is the obvious choice, and yet ownership doesn't want to pull the trigger, and they really, Jim Irsay really likes Jeff Saturday. Jeff Saturday did less with the Colts than Frank Reich did. Frank Reich, the guy that Jim Irsay fired for not doing enough.
Armando, do you think that the Arizona Cardinals and their contractual commitment to Kyler Murray is possibly a holdup in coaches they're interviewing that may otherwise want to take that job?
Well, I mean, we can't. I don't think it would be right, Chad, to generalize and just cover that whole search with one statement. I'm sure that for some, that applies. And as you've seen, there have been some coaches that have bowed out of that process, most notably Dan Quinn, the defensive coordinator of the Cowboys, former Atlanta Falcons head coach, who took them to the Super Bowl, by the way. And he bowed out. Sean Payton bowed out. Others have bowed out. Some of them are fine. Some of them are all on board. And if they get offered the job, they're going to be into it, including Lou Anaromo, Mike Kafka, Vance Joseph, Aaron Glenn. Those guys will be into it. And so they understand that Kyler Murray comes with the job. But there are definitely some people that understood that I'll interview and we're going to see what you say about, let's address this situation.
Armando, there's a big statement made that kind of was met with silence in reaction because of all the news this week. Vic Fangio is deciding to go be the defensive coordinator for the Miami Dolphins with Mike McDaniel. What message did that send to you, knowing the inner workings of the franchise and knowing Vic Fangio, what he's done as a coordinator, the options that he had, and he's choosing to pair up with the young head coach? And you may not be able to hear us now. Okay.
No, I hear you now.
Okay.
Pair up with McDaniel, you're saying?
Yeah, Fangio.
Right. So he agreed to this like 3 weeks ago. Okay. And Tom Pelissero did a very good job for NFL media in breaking that story. And then Vic Fangio started getting feelers from other teams and possibilities he might end up elsewhere. He liked the idea of joining Harbaugh if Harbaugh got a job. He thought, that he might work out in Denver if Payton wanted him to come and things, worked out smoothly. They didn't. And San Francisco came open. And so he thought about that. San Francisco didn't want Vic Fangio. San Francisco runs a 4-3 and Vic Fangio runs a 3-4. And San Francisco wasn't about to change to a 3-4 and ask potential defensive player of the year, Nick Bosa, to do something other than kick everybody's behind playing, three technique. So the bottom line is Vic Fangio agreed to something and then he started looking around. It's like the guy that gets engaged and then a lot of pretty girls start to flirt with him and now he's thinking, and he's got a roaming eye. And at the end of the day, he's already bought the $12,000 diamond ring and the wedding date is set. And the wedding date for Vic Fangio and the Miami Dolphins is the day after the Super Bowl. That's going to happen.
Except the Dolphins got down on one knee and proposed, not the other way around.
Well, I mean, he agreed.
Yeah.
Right?
Sure.
He agreed.
He accepted the proposal.
Nowadays, it doesn't matter if the male or the female asks.
Well, yeah, especially in Miami, right, where you've got the young Mike McDaniel, and he's got. I mean, this is great for him.
Very progressive.
Yes, great for him. And Tua's out of concussion protocol finally after a month.
Let me backtrack on the very good for the Dolphins.
Okay.
Once upon a time, Nick Saban was very happy at LSU, won a national championship at LSU, and NFL teams came calling, and one after another, he turned them down. Then in 2005, the Miami Dolphins and Wayne Huizenga, who's the owner then, came calling, and Nick Saban turned them down. And Wayne Huizenga came back and got turned down, and came back again and got turned down, and came back again, and finally Nick Saban relented. Well, Nick Saban came to Miami, and the guy that came to Miami was a guy that wasn't really sure he wanted to be there. And then he found out his wife didn't want to be there at all. I say all that to say this. The Dolphins are getting Vic Fangio. They're doing the same thing again with Vic Fangio. It's the same thing. They're trying, excuse me, to convince a guy that had his eyes set somewhere else. I'm just putting that out there.
Armando Salguero, you can read more of his analysis, opinion, and his coverage of the NFL, OutKick.com right now. Armando, always great, man. Thank you. And who knows, maybe we'll have more quarterback news next week as we sit in Arizona.
You're going to the Super Bowl, aren't you?
We'll be there. We'll be there. You'll be joining us,
right?
right?
Let me sit in your presence?
Let's go. Bring it.
We will get down on one knee, Armando, and propose to you to just sit in our presence.
This one heart will propose to you
This
in Arizona.
heartbeat right here that you see between the two of us, the one heart, we will propose. We'll both get on one knee, and hopefully you will be sitting right in between us in Arizona for a full maybe hour of the show. What do you say? Will you have us, Armando?
Yeah. It depends on the size of the ring. We'll see. We'll see.
Everything is transactional. Everything in life is transactional, Armando.
He's still accepting offers. Armando Salguero. Options are open for him. See you next week, man. We appreciate you. There he is, Armando Salguero.
We look forward to Armando's visit with Bussin' with the Boys next week on Radio Row, and not with us. They'll offer a bigger rock.
Man, so I thought everyone that left the Tar Heels program was cool with UNC. That's not the case.
Thought it was a family, Hutton.
Not the case.
Once a Tar Heel, always a Tar Heel.
Capel and what took place Pitt, they shouldn't have much to complain about, right? They won on the road.
Yep.
And post game they were complaining.
Some anger.
We'll play the audio for you next on OutKick 360.
I witnessed, Dennis Price and C-Spray and all these people just do such amazing things, and we continue to get asked about Afghanistan and what we didn't do in Ukraine. Like, why would you, like, beyond Aziz, it's no brainer why I would go help Aziz. Why would we continue to help these people? And I think the easy answer is the right thing to do. Like, I mean, when the governments of the world completely failed, including our own, it was very discouraging. But what brought me hope was to see that when the governments of the world failed, good people stood up and did what the governments wouldn't do and couldn't probably do, and did the right thing. And that was really encouraging for me, because I think all of us kind of struggle with hope in our country right now because of the political divide and things that we don't agree with. But it was really hopeful to see that when the governments don't do the right thing, people do. And one of the things myself and C-Spray were asking in this interview was, why would you do it? And of course we said, because it's the right thing to do. But C-Spray was asked a question that I think is important that we can all learn from. He was asked, was it worth it? Was it worth it? And he said, it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be worth it to do the right thing. And whether it's something like this or in your personal lives, like, I think we all have the ability to do the right thing in our own little spheres of our life. And we always try to balance the ROI. Like, what are we going to get out of it? What's the return on investment? But it doesn't always have to be worth it to do the right thing. And in this case, I don't know if it was worth it or not. I thought it was worth it to Aziz and his family and the 17,000 Afghans. And I believe that burden God put in our heart. I think it was worth it to God for us to be obedient and go do that call. But I think the world can learn something from this, that there is hope, that there's good people around who will stand up and do the right things. People that supported us were not people that I typically agree with. There's a lot of people that follow me on Instagram that hate me and bash me for my conservative views and stuff like that. But they were writing me like, hey, I don't like you, but what you're doing is awesome. And where can I support? Where can I give money? And it was so cool. And we had this Jewish organization that they wanted to pay for 2 planes, which was like $1.5 million, a big donation. And they called me back and they said, hey, we tried to make the donation, but we can't do it. And I was like, oh, why? Did I give you the wrong routing number or something? And they said, no, we're a Jewish organization, and Mighty Oaks Foundation, my foundation, is a Christian organization, and we can't give you that money. And I said, okay, but you do realize we're rescuing Muslims, right? And we kind of laughed and moved forward, and they made that donation. It was just an amazing moment in time where politics, religion, like nothing else mattered besides good people standing up and do the right thing for other people. And it'll always be like just super special to me to have been part of that.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's the whole thing. And like I said to the audience, go ahead and get the book, Saving Aziz. You can get it anywhere you want to get books. It's an incredible story, and I think it's something young people especially should learn about. And everyone, because it does go to show that there's good people. Everyone wants to be at each other's throats these days. That's kind of what the media teaches you to do. Hate each other. Everyone's a villain. If you disagree, you have to hate. Not true. Not true at all. So I think your story represents that you can, a lot of good out there. Now on the Ukraine, because I do want to talk about this, because the war is ongoing. What was your experience when it comes to the situation in Ukraine?
Well, it's changed. It's changed since I began. It started in February. We had C-Sprayers on the ground before the invasion because we knew it was coming. We were watching it unfold. And then I went immediately after the invasion. I was in Ukraine, days after the invasion. And originally we went there to see, hey, how can we help? Afghanistan is a lot different. People couldn't go in Afghanistan and load up mass amounts of people to get them out. We were able to do that. Ukraine, people could drive a bus across the border, open the door, load it up and get people out. So the mass evacs were not something we needed to do. And, one of the things about special operations is you do what's special, you do what other people can't.
DeMarcus Ware will join us in 12 minutes on OutKick 360 across the OutKick network. Hutton and Withrow with you. Chad, last night, a report out of the postgame of UNC and Pitt, where Pitt went on the road and won, where Jason Capel is heard going at, speaking out loud about the UNC fan base and not treating him well. And the report from Mitchell Northam, which you can read, where he's yelling outside the Pitt locker room last night.
Yeah, so Mitchell Northam writes, Jason Capel, again, assistant coach to Jeff Capel. His brother, Jeff Capel, former Duke star, Jason Capel, former North Carolina star. Jeff and Jason now on the staff at Pittsburgh, who beat North Carolina on the road. Jason Capel yelling outside of the Pitt locker room, y'all going to disrespect me. All I did for this program, y'all going to boo me. I held this bleep together when Matt Doherty tore it apart. And then he says a couple of expletives that we cannot say, which prompted a question in the postgame press conference. And Jeff Capel had this response to what was going on.
It's been, my brother loves the school. He dreamt of coming here as a player when we were little, when he was little. And, we grew up here. My family moved to Virginia. I think my brother was going to 9th grade. This is the place that he always dreamt of playing. And he wore that jersey with a lot of pride. And since he's left here, there's been a lot of disrespect towards him. And one thing happened today, and I don't think it's coming from within the basketball program. And I don't know who controls their social media, but there was a tweet, and I was hoping he didn't see it. I'm not on social media. One of the guys on my staff showed it to me, where, again, I get social media, Twitter, you try to be funny, you try to do whatever, but I thought it was them trolling him. And, it's a complicated relationship with him in North Carolina. He loves it, but I think at times he doesn't feel that back. And I don't know, it started, to be honest with you, in 2009. We played North Carolina when I was at Oklahoma to go to the Final Four. And my brother was there with my whole family supporting me. He had an OU shirt on. And the Carolina fans were pretty towards him, excuse my language, but pretty nasty. And it took one of the former players to say something. And, for me, it's just really interesting, man, because, again, I grew up in this state. And this is one of the most tradition-laden programs in the history of college athletics, not just college basketball. And you hear about the Carolina family. And it's just amazing to me that their social media people would do that. I don't think it's Hubert. Hubert's awesome. I mean, he really is. I don't think it's the players on the team. They are incredibly respectful and really good young guys. Obviously, the game was emotional, and that's the way it's supposed to be as you get into February. But to answer your question.
So what was the disrespect that was shown to Jason Capel by the North Carolina social media team? Well, they put on their game sort of online program, which every team shows something like this for every single game. They posted game number 22, North Carolina versus Pitt, and they had a walk-on son of an assistant coach, Lebo, on the cover wearing Jason Capel's number 25 with his tongue out. So, Hutton, that leads us to a discussion on just how disrespectful is this if you're Jason Capel, and how did both sides handle it?
Well, we need to know the details of what's gone down since 2009, where this stems from where Jason Capel's at Oklahoma and he met up with UNC in the Elite Eight. And everything points back to them based on what you read and hear. But the details behind all that will lead us to what that is. Is this some cheap jab? Or as Carolina said from their end of things, we didn't mean any disrespect by this. From a social media stance, this is like, from the 30,000-foot view, tame. It's a guy running down the court in a UNC jersey wearing 25. You've got to be pretty entrenched with the storyline of this to get that inside joke. And clearly, if you're inside the news of that, the information of that, you know it wouldn't be received as a joke by the Capels, right?
You're ready to get upset and get mad if you're them.
Yes, and if they did this on purpose, you know that they're going to have that reaction, right? Do I think some social media person knew the backstory of all this? Not to the level that Jeff Capel's discussing. I don't think so. If he's being he's telling the truth that he doesn't think it's from anyone within the basketball program, who would know the details of this storyline?
I would think they would know. Obviously, they know who Jason Capel is and what number he wore. Do they know the entire backstory to the level that the Capels know it? Probably not. By the way,
this guy's played 2 minutes all year. That's the other factor
I
here.
think that there's some next level trolling here to use this player, right, in this moment for that game, that Jason and Jeff Capel were ready to just trounce on the moment they saw something. I'll also say this is a cautionary tale for North Carolina. Wait to do something like this after you win at home. I wouldn't put this out the day of, because that's clearly a talking point in the locker room right after they beat you at home. When Pitt did, when he's screaming in the locker room about how they disrespected him and reporters can hear it outside the locker room, that's not great for North Carolina, who, oh, by the way, preseason #1 is not even close to the top 25 right now, which has been one of the big disappointments in college basketball this season.
That's the bigger storyline, right?
Yeah.
But you put this out pregame, eliciting the reaction that they received. If you had malicious intent with how it was going to be received by the brothers. Again, and specifically Jason.
I thought Jeff Capel in the video, the audio that we heard, handled it very well.
That was great. Yeah.
I mean, he answered the question. He went through the backstory and talked about why he and his brother feel disrespected by the school, and made sure to say this isn't Hubert Davis. This isn't their players. It's their social media team doing it.
But if you follow the history of this,
it's
absolutely more than just some social media
North
coordinator.
Carolina fans. So now it's suddenly, he's not saying it's Hubert Davis booing his brother, but it's the North Carolina quote-unquote family, which, oh, by the way, is kind of funny coming from a Dookie. Right? It's a Duke guy getting to sort of throw shade at the North Carolina family betraying one of their own.
DeMarcus Ware, Pro Football Hall of Fame finalist, joins us next.
College football's in trouble. There's a lot of people trying to keep it from happening.
I think it's a general consensus across the college football landscape. We want to play football.
College football is a huge part of the fall. It's a huge part of Americana itself.
It just really felt like people in the country needed college football to just feel a little sense of normal.
Big news from the Big Ten as the conference releasing its 10-game football schedule.
We go home thinking that we're going to be practicing the next day. Everybody gets a text, stay home, everything's canceled.
Big Ten fall football season has been canceled.
We just believe collectively there's too much uncertainty.
I guess what I'm trying to understand, though, Kevin, is that was the same position you had 6 days ago.
The Big Ten is an unmitigated disaster.
There was a ton of confusion. There was presidents saying one thing, there was coaches saying another.
Players had to be silent, coaches had to be silent, ADs had to be silent.
People said, how does what you just did make any sense?
And nobody really knew what the heck happened when they voted to cancel the season.
You make this huge historical announcement, and then Kevin Warren never does a press conference to explain it. It was like a masterclass in how not to handle a crisis.
The word really that was lacking in all of this is transparency.
It felt like a lot of stuff was happening behind closed doors.
Even today, we still don't know what occurred.
So you don't tell us parents, that's fine, but you're not telling the young men that it affects.
We have to make a decision to save the season. What about the history books? What about the rivalry games? What about Paul Bunyan's axe? How is that not going to go to a team this year?
This is a failure of epic magnitude. The Big Ten presidents and leaders should be held accountable for the disastrous decisions that they're making.
Then the commissioner doubles down, saying his decision will not be revisited.
And that's the point. It felt like a war was declared on the Big Ten and Kevin Warren.
Everything turned political.
Because if this is medical, then you would have stopped the game of football a long time ago.
I think the Big Ten leaders will tell you that they probably made a mistake in hindsight.
If I had the chance to do it all over last year, I would make the same decisions that we made.
Just like that, the final hour is here. Hutton and Withrow with you. OutKick 360 rolls on this Thursday edition, and as promised, kicking off the hour with DeMarcus Ware, courtesy of Bet Online. You can check out Bet Online for the most diverse list of Super Bowl props, including length of the national anthem, first song Rihanna plays, commercial odds, broadcast odds, game and player stats, and much, much more. DeMarcus Ware, Super Bowl 50 champion and a Pro Football Hall of Fame finalist, joins us. DeMarcus, great to have you on, man.
Hey, thank you guys for inviting me on, man. How are you guys doing today?
We are fantastic, and Bet Online's going to be busy, right?
Oh, they're going to be betting for sure, man. This is going to be a crazy game, especially with, I feel like two even teams. You got two beat-up quarterbacks, and you got two defenses that, Philly's been balling out, but, the Kansas City Chiefs defense is just starting to pick up. So I think this is going to be a great game.
How much do you enjoy watching the Philadelphia pass rush?
I love pass rush when it's with any team, but when you have a team that's racked up over 70 sacks this season, I don't know if that's a record or not, but that means they're getting pressure on the quarterback and they're actually rushing as a unit. So it's really cool to see. And, hopefully, the Kansas City Chiefs offensive line can hold up to all that pressure they're going to bring.
DeMarcus Ware, our guest on OutKick 360. I'm reading through some of the Hall of Fame selectors that bring up your case, your career. I respect Rick Gosselin a ton, and I'm sure you know him well from the Dallas area. He says, Patience must be a virtue for DeMarcus Ware, just as it has been for so many Hall of Fame edge rushers before him. Jack Youngblood waited 13 years. Kevin Green waited 12. Charles Haley, 11. Richard Dent waited 9. How, when you see that, do you think of the vote and you think, man, this is going to be a long wait? Or is every year similar where you're thinking, okay, this is my opportunity right out of the gate?
I think I always say this is your opportunity right out of the gate. The reason why I say that is you go from 122 to the final 15. And this is the opportunity of a lifetime. And every year, it's almost like the Super Bowl. I gave my whole resume out every single year, but now this is my final resume, and I get to put that out there each time. And how cool would it be that now all the things, the hard, work that you put in, get enshrined forever, and with the best. And that's saying a lot when you say with the best. That's like that 1% of guys that even play in the NFL even make the Hall of Fame.
It's amazing listening to what Hutton brought up about edge rushers and just how differently we value edge rushers in football. Really over the course of your career, DeMarcus, talking about Jack Youngblood and how great he was, well, rushing the passer was very different in his day as opposed to your day and how that spot is valued. Anyone who can affect a quarterback, whether it be edge rusher or lockdown corners, they're valued a lot more in today's NFL and even as you played. Did you sense that valuation becoming better for your position and what you were doing as your career evolved, especially early on with the Cowboys?
I sensed that at the tail end of my career, once we got to a point to where they started throwing the ball a lot. In the NFC East, you're going against the Giants with Brandon Jacobs, they're running the football. You got the Washington Redskins with Clinton Portis, they're running the football. So you had to buckle up and get ready for that run game any time that you're playing any NFC team. Now I go to the AFC, and at the tail end of playing against the Saints and, with Sean Payton, they started throwing the ball a lot. And they started figuring out that it's all about the left tackle, the guys that are getting pressure, and the guys that are catching the football, which are the wide receivers and corners, which is those awesome corners. And they started paying those guys a lot more money because we were out there a lot more. And when we make those plays, they're game changing.
DeMarcus Ware, our guest, former Cowboy and Bronco. What do you make of the new hire in Denver with Sean Payton pairing up with Russell Wilson?
It's going to be good for them because they needed a leader up top that's going to be able to utilize all the talent that they have on offense. Russell Wilson now can open up the offense and be Russell Wilson, run around and make those plays that we used to seeing him making. But also now the defense don't have to be on the field majority of the time. They had a good defense last year, but they played a lot. So now, you got guys rested. They can get up there and rush the passer, and do what they do. But we'll actually be able to see them score a lot more points now with Sean Payton.
What was the impact of the Super Bowl that you won with Denver? Defense led that team. There's no doubt about it, especially to that playoff run. But what was the Peyton Manning impact on that locker room when he came on board with that team? Even Peyton Manning at not 100% physically, what was that impact like on that football team? Because I'm trying to somehow make the comparison of what a Sean Payton and Russell Wilson combo could do for the offense. What was Peyton Manning like for the entire locker room with you?
For the entire locker room, Peyton Manning was the sheriff. Made sure the offense was doing what they're doing, which is maintaining the game. It wasn't about scoring points. It was like, how many times can we get close to scoring points? If it's 3, if it's 7, getting close to the 20-yard line in the end zone, right? And then on defense, he was just getting to the point to where he always said, we're going to get you rest. He said the same thing in the Super Bowl. He wasn't 100%, but he said, I'm going to make sure that you guys are rested. So when you go out there, you're able to make those plays. They're going to punt. We're going to get short field, and we're going to be able to score points. So it was all about the chess match in the long game. A lot of teams want to score 50 in the first quarter. Peyton said, you know what? We'll score 10 every single quarter. That's our 40. That's how we're going to do it. He always said 7-3. We're going to score 7-3, which is our 10 that we need, and we're just going to move on to the next quarter.
DeMarcus Ware, our guest, he's discussing Peyton Manning, the Pro Football Hall of Famer. DeMarcus, a Pro Football Hall of Fame finalist. Tom Brady will be in the Hall of Fame in 5 years after his retirement. The Cowboys wouldn't match up much with the Patriots based on the scheduling process then. But while in Denver, how many times you sacked Brady in your career?
Brady, maybe 5 times, and it was in the tail end of my career. I remember I sacked him once with the Cowboys. I got a lot of pressure on him, and then I sacked him twice. I think in the last AFC Championship game we played, I think we hit him like 30-something times, the most ever a quarterback being hit in the playoffs, but we still almost lost. That lets you know how good Brady was. Like Brady, when they say he's the GOAT, he is the GOAT. He does not get, you can't shake him. You just got to get pressure on him. You got to slow him down, and hopefully your offense can keep up.
DeMarcus, looking through your early career as an athlete, grew up in Auburn, Alabama, played at Auburn High School, starred in football, basketball, baseball, was a track star also. I see how prolific you were at Troy. We obviously know about your NFL career now. How in the world did you slip through the fingers of Auburn University to not star in the SEC? What was your recruitment like coming out of high school that ended up leading you to Troy?
I don't know what recruitment was. I had one school that offered me a scholarship, which was Troy University. I ran like a 4.7. I was a 185-pound wide receiver coming out. And they said, DeMarcus, when you get to Troy, we want to put you at defensive end. At the time, they were Division AA, 1AA. So we played a lot of the Jacksonville States, the Alabama States, the Alabama Montgomery A&M. So we played those small teams. So me being at 195 was normal. But it just got to a point where I got that scholarship, and we started playing these big schools like Marshall and Missouri. So I'm like, I can't play Nebraska at 185. You kidding me? And so, lo and behold, I grew 3 inches, and I gained 50 pounds in 4 years and ran a 4.3. So that was genetics plus being able to get on the right program at the right time.
How much different would it be now with an open transfer portal? I mean, DeMarcus Ware goes to Troy.
O.C. Umenyiora was there, too, at his high school.
Yeah, absolutely. But, you grow 3 inches. You gain weight, you become a star. Suddenly Alabama and Auburn and everyone come calling, and you're the prize of the transfer portal for someone, both you and some of your teammates there also. Do you think that would have changed your thinking as a college athlete at Troy? And just overall, what do you think about what's going on in college football right now with transfers?
Back then, I didn't know. If I had that transfer portal, I probably would have stayed, because at the tail end of my career, we started playing like the Nebraskas, we started playing Missouris and Marshall. So we started playing a lot of nationally televised games, even though we were the homecoming game. So that was, I would have stayed, but with the new way that they're doing things, it gives players an opportunity. If they start at a small school, they start blossoming, and if they need to be seen a lot more against better talent, now they can go into the SEC or the Big 12 or the Pac-10 and play against some great teams and showcase their talent.
DeMarcus Ware, final thing. The story goes that Jerry Jones overruled Bill Parcells when they went on the clock at 11th overall in 2005. Where would you have been drafted had they not drafted you there with Jerry's blessing?
I would have went to San Diego.
And that's where Merriman went, right?
Yep. I think Merriman was number 12.
Okay.
So it was both of us going back and forth. We were the top outside linebackers at the time. And so Bill Parcells wanted Merriman at 11. So I probably went to San Diego at 12. We had the 21st pick, which was Marcus Spears, but I think that it was either Dallas or San Diego.
How close were you to breaking the all-time sack record? You had 20 in 2008, 2.5 shy. I'm sure there were a couple of moments where you thought, man, this would have counted, or they blew the play dead.
I actually missed 6 sacks, if you really want to know. I missed 6 sacks. I remember every single one of them. And they were like either a couple of them were penalties from holding, the cornerbacks holding, or me just missing Ben Roethlisberger, which I remember I had him down and some way he got away from me. But I was really close, almost twice, because one year I had 20 sacks twice, but they took half a sack away and gave it to one of the other players. I remember that too. You remember all your sacks, especially the ones that you miss. So I was pretty close.
Don't feel too bad. Big Ben did that to a lot of people in terms of not being able to get that big guy down. So you weren't the only one.
He was a great player, man. Great player.
DeMarcus Ware, great player as well. Pro Football Hall of Fame finalist with us, courtesy of Bet Online. Thank you for the visit, man, and hopefully we'll catch up again soon.
All right. Thank you guys so much. Take care.
There's DeMarcus Ware. And again, Bet Online, the place to check out some great props for the Super Bowl, length of the national anthem. The first song that Rihanna plays, there's some great odds there, Chad. You'll know every song, I'm sure.
Yeah, that's the one when you said it, Hutton, that immediately I was drawn to, that I need to go and see what the choices are, and I bet I can pick it right away. But I've noticed with some of these halftime shows, they go kind of deep into the catalog first, and then they build up to the bigger hits.
Gunz probably knows. Mike Gunzelman. He's joining us in studio next on OutKick 360.
It's so crazy because Tom Brady is just a touch older than me. I believe now there are no NFL players older than me, which that's the first time in my life I can say that.
Okay.
So now I feel really old. Now I feel truly and really old.
I'm sorry, man. God, that's horrible. I didn't know that feeling. I'm
Maybe
sorry.
there's a punter or a kicker. I have to check. Maybe I'm hoping there's like an old, like a long time punter, kicker, a long snapper that's older than me, but I don't think so. And it's amazing to me thinking about Brady the last few years. Like, I know how I feel when I wake up in the morning. I can't even imagine attempting to play in the NFL like this.
Right? Yeah. I mean, well, I don't even know if last season should have happened, but that's not up for me. It's not for anybody to sit there and argue.
I don't have the drive Tom Brady has. I'm very willing to admit that.
Right.
It seemed to me, just as an outsider with no inside information whatsoever, that he retired and that he engaged in normal life for the first time in a long time. I was like, yeah, this sucks. I'm getting back to the NFL.
I don't like the daycare thing. I love my kids, but I don't like dropping it off. I don't want to go play pickleball at 3:00 in the afternoon. Like, let's get back to normal. But it'd be interesting. Like you know, I don't know if we'll see another quarterback take it that far, Andy, in the NFL. Like, he really pushed the limits,
Rodgers,
right?
Yeah, you got Aaron Rodgers going to be 39. You got him hinting at retirement now, and it does feel like the game's maybe taking a little more toll on his body than Brady. Maybe there's some ayahuasca that'll fix that, but it's crazy that it lasted this long. I mean, I think back to how much my life is, I graduated college in 2000 and, working my first job, watching Tom Brady lead the Patriots when they were the underdogs to the win against the Rams in the Super Bowl and thinking, well, that's a cool story. 6th-round guy, hope the career works out for him. And the level of winning and just consistency, I'm not sure we're going to see it again.
No. And I don't, especially with a quarterback who has that tenacity, he also puts in everything into the game. Like, it's like he can't take a breather. And it just, he has a different workflow. It kind of reminded me of what Kobe Bryant used to do in the NBA. Or you can go on and name them on. But now, but I'm interested to see now, what that looks like in the future. And does this, and I'll ask you this, because this news could break while we're down here in Mobile. Todd Monken, Georgia offensive coordinator. Does this make room for him now to potentially say, okay, I can go to Tampa, we can go find a quarterback that works for me in my system and maybe take over the offensive coordinator position? What have your thoughts been on the Monken Buccaneer stuff?
Are you ready for Stetson Bennett as the Buccaneers starting quarterback? Are we ready to live in a world where Stetson Bennett makes that pirate ship go boom? Can
I'm
that
excited.
happen?
It can in the 6th round.
It's very interesting because, Monken, I think, you look at that tenure with Jameis Winston in Tampa, it didn't go as well as anybody would have wanted. And maybe Monken going, well, if I had a different quarterback, one who didn't put the ball in harm's way as often, perhaps that works out.
With Yeehaw Beer and Old Smoky Moonshine. Glad you're with us for OutKick 360. Hutton and Withrow with you. Thanks for DeMarcus Ware for joining us to kick off the final hour. And
how great is that dude, by the way?
His setup was amazing.
You just get a vibe from people. Our next guest always puts out a good vibe.
Yeah.
DeMarcus Ware had that vibe about him where get done talking to him and I turn to you and say, seems like a good dude.
From Gunz Show to Mike Gunzelman, the Gun Show. From OutKick.com, who joins us in studio. Welcome back in, man. Good to see you.
What's up, fellas? How are you? Yeah.
Doing great. So how much are people paying to go to the Super Bowl?
Yes.
It's up. So there's always a new record, right?
I mean, just with the way the economy's going and, of course, ticket prices and everything being more expensive these days, but still the demand has to be there when it comes down to it. You know what I mean? If it's two teams that nobody truly cares about, perhaps their fan bases aren't as rabid as others, then, maybe it dips a little bit, but we are seeing very high prices. I mean, it's going to cost you right now. The cheapest ticket as of 3 minutes ago is $4,700 a ticket. Hold on. That's before the surcharges. So you have to throw another grand on the secondary ticket prices. As far as the average, okay? So that'll put you all the way in the nosebleeds. I mean, you're using binoculars. You can't see a thing up there, okay?
With the media.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The average price, $8,200. That just shows the fluctuation of what you're trying to get. My big question for both of you, though, is I understand the media aspect. We've all been to Super Bowls. You guys are going to be down there. It's going to be an absolute blast from a media standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool to hang out, see everybody, get all the press. But from a fan standpoint, is it worth it? Is it more fun to watch the Super Bowl at your house where you're not waiting in line for the bathroom or anything?
This is an easy answer for me. It is absolutely not worth it.
Yeah.
I don't know the real fans that pay for those prices to go to this game.
Well,
because it's so corporate. You know this being around the event.
You do see true fans there, like decked out. It's like in my hometown, people take out a loan to go to the county fair every year, right? Like that's their version of that. Like that's their.
It's like Kentucky basketball fans going to Nashville for the SEC tournament.
Yeah, it's their vacation, and you feel like you've got this one opportunity. So I do say it's a bucket list event so you can take it in, but it's so much better on TV.
Yeah.
So much better. And yeah, I mean, most of those fans are sitting up, up top. It's a very corporate feel to everything. And that's why the tickets can be,
ridiculous.
Every year we do a double take, but every year we continue to see the ratings climb.
I would say save that money, $4,700 you said, on the low end. Save that money, take a fourth of that, go in with some buddies, go rent out something awesome in your hometown. Go rent out a sports bar or a giant room and have a full experience for you and your best friends that are all completely into it and lockstep with each other for your team. If you're a fan of that team, and that's going to be a way better experience than actually flying.
I like your thinking.
I agree.
But it's not just the tickets, too. Go look the weekend of a Super Bowl
hotels.
And try to find living arrangements in that city. I mean, the Econo Lodge goes from $180 a night to $1,000 a night.
Yeah.
The Motel 6 is charging what?
Motel 6, that'll cost you $850 a night. The Motel 6,
I was close.
The prestigious, the Best Westerns, those are going for like $1,200 plus. Not even near the stadium, by the way. My favorite though is the Holiday Inn, not just the Holiday Inn, but the Holiday Inn Express. With the stale croissants or whatever. The continental breakfast.
Not the full end Holiday Inn. You're saying we're talking about half Holiday Inn, the Express version.
The Express version, where it's like here's some.
Don't come in here expecting full Holiday Inn treatment, by the way. You're in an Express, sir.
Here's a stale piece of bread.
There's
you know
a
what I mean?
Pop-Tart.
Right.
That will be over $5,000 for the weekend.
The difference between the Holiday Inn Express and the full Holiday Inn, at the Holiday Inn, at the breakfast buffet, the continental breakfast, they crack actual eggs and scramble them. And then at the Holiday Inn Express, they have the egg. Have you ever seen the egg mix?
Oh, yeah.
It's like phony eggs. Yeah. That's the difference.
And
That's
the
what
milk
you're getting.
Thing?
Yeah, it's like powder that they turn into eggs. That's what you're getting at the Express.
It's actually creatine.
So, but when you really put it...
Good protein, though. Really good protein.
When you put it all together, I mean, listen, I understand the fandom, and it's so hard to get to the Super Bowl. We all understand that. And you're right, it is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for a lot of fans out there.
Yeah.
But when you especially look at, the Eagles, so, the last couple of weeks I've been doing a lot of ticket prices and all that. They face the Giants, highest ticket prices ever that the NFC had seen at the time. Then, week later, so imagine if you're a diehard fan, you're like, all right, I'm going to go to this. It's like, oh, we won. Well, I really want to go to this. Oh, we made it all the way to the big game. It's like, either A, I don't have any money, or sorry, honey, but I'm mortgaging the house. You know, I'm refinancing.
So I haven't looked this up. I wonder what were the prices like for the neutral site game in Atlanta had it been the Bills? For the AFC Championship compared to the prices that were paid for like the NFC Championship
I'm willing
game.
to bet it was similar to like a home game.
Yeah, that's got to be
just for a regular
because they
home
sold
game for the
50,000 prior to
it
even knowing
had
the
to
result.
be home team type stuff for that one.
I would think so.
But
yeah.
you mentioned that the
but
Eagles,
the prices I'm sure at Arrowhead were skyrocketed.
Right,
yeah, and, you mentioned the Eagles in once in a lifetime thing. The Eagles have won one Super Bowl. So 5 years ago, when they got to this game, what would everyone say? You got to go to the Super Bowl.
Like the
if you're
Bengals
an Eagles
last
fan.
year.
They may never be back. Well, here we are 5 years later.
They're back.
And they're right back.
Guess
so
who's
then,
back,
how many Eagles fans make that trip a second time or decide, okay, now is going to be my first time? I don't know how big that number is, honestly.
Yeah. I mean, I would go one time. That's just some people love it when you're there, and you can see the confetti fall, and you can be a part of the atmosphere, right? But
between airfare and hotel, I mean,
and a minimum stay, a 5-night minimum for a lot of these hotels. Yeah, I mean, it is brutal.
Listen, I'm all about having fun, living. You only live once. Live it up to the to the best that you possibly can, no doubt. But if I don't have to wait to get a beer and there's no line for the bathroom and the comfort of my own apartment, house, wherever, rent out a bar, that is my idea Super Bowl experience.
No, you're a smart man for that. Yeah. Full confession, this will be the 13th or 14th Super Bowl that we've covered, Hutton. I've never been to the game. I covered the week of the game and get out before the game. You've been to two, I believe, two of them.
Yeah.
So you've seen it from the media perspective. You like some of the elements during the game to keep fans in the stadium engaged, but your thoughts on the actual game atmosphere? The game looks corporate on TV.
Yeah, it's very the game atmosphere is cool. It's not loud one side or the other, right? The most overhyped aspect of the live experience is the halftime show. Right. You don't see anything really other than some lights. Right,
and you're seeing everything on TV.
Oh yeah, it's rehearsed down to the exact second on the camera angles and all the switches. Right. I mean that's the one aspect that you miss out on. They do their own in-stadium pregame show, which is cool. I really enjoyed that. Aside from whatever network is doing the game, NFL Network does their own pregame show for the fans in attendance only, which is very unusual, but it's very well done.
Is it worth $4,700 for that?
It's not, but when you're there and you're probably walking in, like, man, this is. I got a deal. I got a deal on this. If you're a fan walking in, you're like, I've never seen anything like this.
Can you imagine spending the $4,700 and walking in late? Like being one of the people like, this doesn't mean that much to me. I'm having fun at this tailgate.
The security line took so long to get through. You know what I mean?
I don't need to see that NFL Network pregame show that's in the stadium.
I'm not just going to bash the in-game experience, like being there. So when they did the Kobe Bryant moment of silence at the Super Bowl down in Miami, that was amazing. Like being there for that, and then the national anthem, being there for the Chris Stapleton national anthem next week. Will be insane.
It'll be special for sure.
It's just when the game kicks off, it is just a football game.
Right.
But the NFL has built this up to where fans are paying these prices, and it's not just fans; it's companies and celebrities that are flying in. One of my favorite social media things is to watch the airports immediately after the game, and you've got the flight trackers going, just the screenshots of all the private jets that are leaving the city to go back wherever they came from. And next year in Vegas, Gunz, we got to go.
We're in.
We're going to the
We're
game.
in. I'll start saving my money now. Right?
Let's do it.
It's like start saving it now. You're exactly right. Here I am. Listen, it's just like I'm from New York City, Madison Square Garden, all the low seats, that's not your fans. You know what I mean? All the diehard fans are up top. Same thing with the Eagles. The Eagles are a rabid fan base for sure. They're crazy. They're Philadelphia. We all know the stories. How many of those fans can actually afford to go into Super Bowl?
No batteries will be thrown at this game.
Right. Yes, exactly. All Santa Clauses are safe down in Arizona.
Let's not act rash. Yeah, maybe they're not going to be safe. Here's a question for you that we haven't been able to answer. What is the fan base and the target group for 80 for Brady?
People that love gilfs. We're not saying
Fair.
MILFs. We're going to GILFs, all right? Because, yes, of course it's...
Well, you could put another G in front of GILF also if you really wanted to.
Apparently, GILFs love Brady.
That is true. Yes, yes. Jane Fonda coming out, giving a lot of praise for Tom Brady, saying that head over heels for Mr. Brady. But, of course, yes, that is the big movie that comes out this coming weekend. Listen, not a Tom Brady fan, not a Patriots fan. This is getting all sorts of buzz. Overhyped. I mean, come on, right? Come on.
If you're not tired of it yet, you're about to be during this broadcast.
Well, so the goal of a movie trailer is to take the best of a movie, or at least take a scene or some elements of it, add in some music, and make it very appealing to the common fan, right? Common movie.
The heartstrings of Chad Withrow.
This movie trailer did the opposite for me.
Gave you a virus.
If those were the best, I've been ill ever since watching it for the first time. If the intention was to get me to fall in love with this movie, the trailer did the exact opposite. Now, my mother will turn 73 later this year. She wanted me to inform our audience. She will be going to see it.
Of course.
Very soon. She's excited about it. My Aunt Mitzi, that watches the show every day, that I mentioned yesterday, she will go see it. So, Gunz, we have found the target demo of 80 for Brady. And, in fact, it is women aged 70 to 90. American women that also love football, 70 to 90.
They're flocking to the theater.
They're ready to go see 80 for Brady.
It is. It's going to be a blockbuster hit for Tom, of course. Yeah, I mean, listen. Do I blame him? I do think that the timing. Don't they always say life is all about timing? And what better way than right now? You know, he was doing the red carpet this past week, and Variety actually spoke to him. I wrote the article for OutKick. It was the day before he, of course, made the announcement that he was going to be stepping back, and they asked him, a lot of people. He spoke to Variety, he spoke to ET, and he's like, listen, I had a blast. He goes, I would definitely be interested in doing future films. And some of the co-stars gave him shout-outs, props. One of them compared him to Jimmy Stewart. For anybody under the age of 40, I also had to Google who Jimmy Stewart was, so it's okay.
Wonderful life.
Yeah,
That's all
there
you
go.
say.
It's a wonderful life. One of the greatest actors of all time, of course, Jimmy Stewart. But the big question is, do we think that Brady's going to resonate on screen? All right, take the upcoming broadcast stuff out. All right, I'm not talking about the football broadcast. Do we think Peyton and Eli have done, I think Eli's building his way up. He's getting a lot more fan-friendly with the broadcast that he's been doing. I feel like Peyton has made that successful jump where now he's gone from football player to the chicken parm commercials into now being, various commercials into co-hosting the CMAs with Luke Bryan. You know what I mean? Like, he's done that jump. Do we see Tom Brady? Does he resonate, do you guys think, to the big screen like that?
And a cameo appearance.
Okay.
I think LeBron's good at it.
LeBron was good in Trainwreck. That was the movie?
Trainwreck, but also Space Jam. Didn't you rave about this from the kid's point of view?
I didn't rave. My child loved it.
Yeah,
I thought it was horrific compared to the first one.
Well,
he wasn't good in that. I thought he was good in like a Judd Apatow written comedy. When he has good lines, I thought he was funny.
I think Brady can be really good in this, but not in this film, but in this role of a cameo. We haven't really seen it. We didn't see that in New England because no one does anything in New England.
Well, he was in Ted 2. He played himself in Ted 2 with Mark Wahlberg, and he was pretty much a dead fish in that one. I'll be honest. I think he'd be a terrible actor, and here's why. Tom Brady seems like the type. He's going to be good at a lot of things, but he is so self-serious that he will only do like serious things. And I think because of that, it would hamstring him as an actor. Here's the difference.
Not actor. He can play himself, though.
He could, but Peyton Manning is the guy who's going to be better in film. Right. Because Peyton Manning is way funnier. Peyton Manning could both play himself, or I think Peyton, you could cast him in a buddy comedy in a different role as like someone's funny friend.
Like a Will Ferrell type thing, like that kind of group.
I think he could play a character that's not him and deliver lines the right way and be very funny in doing it.
Righteous Gemstone.
Yeah, I think if you gave Tom Brady the proper cameo, then I'm with you. I think he'd be good. But I mean, as just Tom Brady's going to play some minor character role in some movie.
No, not in that way.
And be dramatic. No, I think Jane Fonda's just being very nice.
Gunz, here's the thing. This movie is going to be highly successful. It's going to crush. And the budget of this movie was $28 million.
Which is
this is going to make a ton of money.
I don't think so. I disagree.
Compared to what they paid for it.
I mean, it's going to make money, but it's not going to.
Well, that's what you're trying to do in a streaming world is turn a profit at the theater, and that's what they're about to do.
I think
Avatar 2 reportedly had to make $2 billion to turn a profit.
There's enough Patriots fans out there, people that will go just to see, and grandmothers, as you mentioned before, that will probably easily make that 28 million mark. But the fact that we still don't really understand the full concept of this film, it's supposed to be based on them trying to get tickets to a Super Bowl that Brady's playing in 2017. Like, that's all we know. And the fact that we've seen a pretty terrible trailer out there, it seems like they're hiding how awful this movie's going to be. But will it break 28 mil? I mean,
yes.
There's enough Patriots fans to make that happen. But will it also ruin? Is Tom Brady, who's going to have plenty of time on his hands now, plenty of time on his hands, as we all know. There's only so many rounds of golf you can do. There's only so many of your kids' practices that you can go, see them do. You know what I mean? He's got plenty of time on his hands now. Is he already ruining his future potential filming career from the start after this?
Oh, I mean, the fact that James Cameron, Chad, said he needed $2 billion to make Avatar 2 profitable, and the fact that they got it, I haven't met anyone that's seen this film.
I haven't either.
And they
it's
made
amazing
$2 billion.
This is the quietest.
Who are the Avatar
blockbuster
fans?
in history.
So I don't expect I will meet anyone under the age of 65 to have watched 80 for Brady unless it's a punishment that we're going to send Matty Ice to do if he cuts his hair again.
I agree it will make money. This is not going to be like The Hangover. That was a huge surprise.
No. I'm not comparing it to
in
that.
Terms of
it's going to turn a
blockbuster.
profit compared to what it would do, on just a straight release to Netflix.
And it could be somewhat valuable to whatever streaming service owns the rights to it.
So
it'll quickly go to streaming.
The big question is, all right, so out of the three of us right here, who of us is actually going to go see it?
No one.
I volunteer you as tribute to go and I want to read at OutKick.com the review that you write about.
You know
this
what?
movie,
Oh
please.
man, I might need a couple of the old smoky whiskey.
We got you covered there.
Take this right here.
I'll
with
share
you.
it with you, and then you can go and I'll
The
stay.
Yeehaw beer I might need before I go to see that.
So what's Netflix doing with my account, Gunz?
Ruining everything. You want to talk about the Hunger Games reference? The streaming wars are upon us, and may the odds be ever in your favor, everybody, because once again, Netflix is about to raise the cost. Yes, hitting you right where it matters most. I'm talking about your pocketbook, your checkbook. Write that cash right there, everybody, because they are now cutting back on password sharing. All right, what does this matter? It's not about you being like, a young person be like, oh yeah, dude, you feel free to use my password. No. Right now, you can have a Netflix account, as I'm sure many people do at home, and you can share it. You can share it to multiple accounts. That, my friends, is all going away within the next couple of weeks. By the end of March, this is what's going to happen. You will have to register your Netflix account from a primary location. They are going to track it via your Wi-Fi as well as your IP address, okay? That will be in your single household right there. So, say you have a kid at college that might use your Netflix account. Say that you're going on vacation and want to do it. Say that, whatever it might be. You're on a train, you want to log in on your commute. Whatever it might be, it is going to be a hassle, and you're going to have to pay more if you delve out that account to anybody else. It is a ballsy move on Netflix. We all know what we don't know, but that's the biggest question, what the economic future looks like right now for the country. A lot of people kind of keeping their money as close as they possibly can right now. Netflix also, their big thing was they never had ads. Last year, they introduced ads. You had to pay more to not have ads. Now, they're cutting down on password sharing that family members literally cannot share amongst themselves unless they're all within that same household. And you're also seeing the rise of all the other streaming services. Guys, it's a gamble and a half right now for Netflix. The content just isn't as good right now from them.
Well, this is the problem of paying $20 million an episode to Dave Chappelle. You've got to get the subscribers. And then this is also a problem because people have paid YouTube to remove ads. They subscribe to SiriusXM and pay Howard Stern $90 million a year. They run ads in that show. And so Netflix is seeing this and going, people are stupid. They think they're getting something exclusive, and we're going to sell ads to them and have them pay more for exclusivity. And they'll do it. We cut the cord at a very slow rate. it took me a while to just like actually dive in on all these subscriptions, Gunz. I'm looking at this going, I need to see how handcuffed I'm going to be to my primary location whenever they actually try to stop me, and see what it costs to do away with that. Because people are going to pay this. I don't think people are doing away with Netflix based on the content and the contracts they have. They know it.
It is awful for the customer. It's also very smart business. Right. I can understand why Netflix, and I thought for years, like, it's crazy that you have all of these offerings, you're paying, $20 million to Chris Rock or to Dave Chappelle for specials, but yet I could just give my password to 20 friends and they get it for free. So I understand the concept behind it, so you're not stealing a product for free, but here's my biggest complaint with it. You go to a hotel now and you have to log into Netflix. Right. And you could have your own account and you could be legitimately, I'm using my account, but now you can't even do that. Well, you go rent an Airbnb, you can't log into your Netflix account.
But you'll be able to get, they'll be able to send you a verification. It's going to be, so there's two arguments here. One is the price. It's like, I'm already paying for this. I got to pay for it's going to be $20 plus a month now if you want to be able to share, et cetera.
Okay.
But there's also the hassle standpoint where it's like now you have to get a verification login type code where is Netflix, obviously they were the original ones. They've always been the pinnacle, but are they still delivering the product? They were the go-tos. They shut down Blockbuster single-handedly. Mm-hmm. But now there's so many. I pay for HBO Max, ESPN Plus, Hulu, Disney Plus, Fox Nation, Paramount I've got Spotify, I've got YouTube. I still have cable television. When is enough that people are just going to be like, you know what? Screw it. I don't need Netflix.
We've reached that point for sure about enough being enough. And we've reached the point of saturation. But I'll also say that I wish Netflix, they've done a lot more international productions to get in the global audience. I wish they would make money that way. Like, they've gone into a lot of Scandinavian TV shows and movies, and now they're penetrating India and China with different shows and productions. I would be more okay with them doing that and making money across the globe as opposed to affecting my viewing habits. Right?
Are we going to get to a point where
putting that all over the side? I mean, I'm not going to see it.
Take the money from them. Don't hit us.
Like, let's go get more. Let's dive into Brazil. We need more Brazilian comedies on Netflix. Yeah. I may never watch it, probably won't, but make money that way.
You think we'll get to a point where you drive down and you see a hotel and it's like free Netflix, like it was free HBO?
They just give you their account.
Yeah.
They sign up for every room. Yeah.
Hey, it's all on the same Wi-Fi, so as long as you're happy, you're good.
But consider like Apple TV Plus. They will have the debut of Killers of the Flower Moon in May, the new DiCaprio film with Scorsese. They will debut that on Apple TV Plus. I won't be able to see it in the theater before it's on Apple.
Right.
That pisses me off, right? Like, I can go see 80 for Brady in the theater before I can see it on Apple, but not the new DiCaprio film that they filmed 3 years ago. Would Tom Cruise have done this? This is another reason why this is the Academy Award-winning film of the last year in Top Gun, Maverick.
Tom Cruise, say what you want about his Scientology background.
Go ahead.
The man does not compromise on quality when it comes to a movie-going experience.
Yeah, right.
Some of his movies may have missed, but he's saying, I am here to please the audience.
Screw these Thetans.
And to bring people... Yes. What is the processing that Scientology people go? Anyway.
I just know Thetan is one of them.
Yes.
It's a ghost that enters you or something?
Yeah. Sounds about right.
If you believe in that.
That's actually going to be Cruise's next film also. He's going to zero in on that.
Does his own stunts,
But he brings people to the movies, right? Yeah.
Mission Impossible 25, he does his own stunt.
I love it.
That was the most difficult stunt also for him. No, but I mean, he makes movies for people to go see movies in the theater. I respect that.
I think what's interesting, and we don't just see this with, Netflix is it's just... The internet, of course, loves to hate on things. And is Netflix maybe gambling or going a little too far right here? Plus, I'm telling you, cancel Netflix was trending. I just did a big story on it today. People are upset. People are mad. They're like, we were invested in you for so long. What are you offering me anymore that really deserves this? And why are you making my viewing experience even more of a hassle? Now, listen, is everybody going to cancel Netflix? Absolutely not. But they are imposing this password sharing change because the profits were terrible in Q4. So they're already losing, all right? They realize, here's the thing. We had nothing to do for 2.5 years, everybody. We were all home. Just like the Peloton stock has crashed. All those streaming things went up. They were inevitably going to go down because everybody was buying on because there was nothing else to do. Now it's going down. They're scrambling and bringing in ads. Now doing this, cutting you elsewhere. If you lose the internet, once you lose the internet, you're dead in the water. And the fact that there are a lot of heated people out there being like, I'll just watch HBO Max. I'll watch Succession. I can't even watch Succession on Netflix. They don't have Friends anymore. They don't have The Office anymore. What are you bringing to me right now? Is it really worth that extra 20? I might just cancel out of spite. That's what they have to deal with, and deal with shareholders. It's a big gamble.
David in our YouTube chat talking about 80 for Brady says, please tell me this is not a Fox film you guys are talking about for corporate purposes. No. To which I responded and said, it's not to my knowledge a Fox film, and I've trashed it constantly, so I hope not.
It may be in Brady's contract that they have to mention it, though.
Right,
who knows?
Yeah. I'll probably be getting a strongly written email if it is, because I've done nothing but trash this film, and I'll continue to do so.
I just thought about this right now. One of my favorite things, and maybe we could, it's like Super Bowl prop bets, and all that that stuff. And I was just thinking, do they mention, what's the over-under and how many times maybe Tom Brady's mentioned? Probably like 2.5 maybe? Think about it. I mean, it's got to be more like, right?
That's a good prop bet. Now, I think he's going to be a part of the Fox coverage in some way.
Okay.
Whether it be like a cameo appearance with a video he does or something.
You think he's in a commercial already? Do you think somebody tries to buy him up for a commercial?
I think he's already shot a commercial.
I bet his brand has a commercial.
Something like that, yeah.
Maybe. It's going to be the Brady Super Bowl. It's going to be Brady brand, and it's going to be this movie. I'm telling you.
The Mannings will also have a starring role in some commercials, I believe.
Well, they need to, because the Mannings have become kind of like the...
they're everyone's big brother. They're America's big football brothers.
Eli Manning is actually teaming up with Pete Davidson. They'll be coaching, for those that don't know, this coming, I think it's this week. I actually have no idea when the Pro Bowl is, to be completely honest. Do you know out there?
Weekend. Yeah. This weekend.
This weekend? Nobody knows. It will be, it is Eli Manning teaming up with Pete Davidson to be the captains for the flag football. Yes, that's right. It's flag football this year. And they're taking on Peyton with Snoop Dogg. Those are the two teams that will be playing each other in flag football this year. But that just shows the Eli and Peyton Manning are kind of just, they become, Eli, Peyton Manning, and Gronk are like the top three right now. Does Tom Brady break that top four, become on that Rushmore of players, athletes delving into Hollywood? I don't know if it's 80 for Brady, the answer.
The Mannings will be taking over for Netflix now that they're failing.
So as we just wrap up briefly, any of you guys canceling Netflix? I'm not.
No.
Okay. And that's why they're doing this. That's exactly why they're doing this. Because we can, complain all we want.
Too much of a hassle.
They know. You'd rather pay.
I don't want to be bothered to cancel. Yeah, right. I've got too many other things.
That's a big thing. You just look at, sometimes I'll look at my checking company. Where'd all my money go? It's just all the automatic withdrawals. You don't even know.
I've got a new softball team group text I have to form tonight. That's enough of a hassle for me for this evening. I'm not going to be canceling Netflix also.
Gunz, good to see you, man. Thank you for coming in.
Always a blast. Congratulations. Hey, good luck next week. You're doing all that coverage, Super Bowl. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Thank you very much.
We're leaving the cold for Scottsdale, so it's not bad, Chad.
Could be worse. Could be worse.
I don't know. Mike Gunz, check him out. The Gun Show on Twitter. Always appreciate him stopping by when he's in, and we'll have him on soon based on a column he's got coming up about the Super Bowl and an aspect with it. It's going to be a lot of fun early next week. Coming up, I don't know how much fun this Colts coaching search is actually for anyone involved
Colts
other than
fans, that's for sure.
Reportedly 12-hour interviews taking place for round 3 of the coaches who are in the meetings with Ballard and Irsay. That's next on OutKick 360.
I witnessed, Dennis Price and C-Spray and all these people just do such amazing things, and we continue to get asked about Afghanistan and what we didn't do in Ukraine. Like, why would you, beyond Aziz, it's no brainer why I would go help Aziz. Why would we continue to help these people? And, I think the easy answer is the right thing to do. When the governments of the world completely failed, including our own, it was very discouraging. But what brought me hope was to see that when the governments of the world failed, good people stood up and did what the governments wouldn't do and couldn't probably do, and did the right thing. And that was really encouraging for me, because I think all of us kind of struggle with hope in our country right now because of the political divide and things that we don't agree with. But it was really hopeful to see that when the governments don't do the right thing, people do. And one of the things myself and C-Spray were asking in this interview was, why would you do it? And of course we said, because it's the right thing to do. But C-Spray was asked a question that I think is important that we can all learn from. He was asked, was it worth it? Was it worth it? And he said, it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be worth it to do the right thing. And whether it's something like this or in your personal lives, I think we all have the ability to do the right thing in our own little spheres of our life. And we always try to balance the ROI, like what are we gonna get out of it? What's the return on investment? But it doesn't always have to be worth it to do the right thing. And in this case, I don't know if it was worth it or not. I thought it was worth it to Aziz and his family and the 17,000 Afghans. And I believe that burden God put in our heart. I think it was worth it to God for us to be obedient and go do that call. But I think the world could learn something from this, that there is hope, that there's good people around who will stand up and do the right things. People that supported us were not people that I typically agree with. There's a lot of people that follow me on Instagram that hate me and bash me for my conservative views and stuff like that. But they were writing me like, hey, I don't like you, but what you're doing is awesome. And where can I support? Where can I give money? And it was so cool. And we had this Jewish organization that they wanted to pay for 2 planes, which was like $1.5 million, a big donation. And they called me back and they said, hey, we tried to make the donation, but we can't do it. And I was like, oh, why? Did I give you the wrong routing number or something? They said, no, we're a Jewish organization, and Mighty Oaks Foundation, my foundation, is a Christian organization, and we can't give you that money. And I said, okay, but you do realize we're rescuing Muslims, right? And we kind of laughed and moved forward, and they made that donation. It was just an amazing moment in time where politics, religion, like nothing else mattered besides good people standing up and do the right thing for other people. And it'll always be like just super special to me to have been part of that.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's the whole thing. And like I said to the audience, go ahead and get the book, Saving Aziz. You can get it anywhere you want to get books. It's an incredible story, and I think it's something young people especially should learn about. And everyone, because it does go to show that there's good people. Everyone wants to be at each other's throats these days. That's kind of what the media teaches you to do. Hate each other. Everyone's a villain. If you disagree, you have to hate. Not true. Not true at all. So I think your story represents that you can, a lot of good out there. Now on the Ukraine, because I do want to talk about this, because the war is ongoing. What was your experience when it comes to the situation in Ukraine?
Well, it's changed. It's changed since I began. It started in February. We had ceasefires on the ground before the invasion because we knew it was coming. We were watching it unfold. And then I went immediately after the invasion. I was in Ukraine, days after the invasion. And originally we went there to see, hey, how can we help? Afghanistan is a lot different. People couldn't go in Afghanistan and load up mass amounts of people to get them out. We were able to do that. Ukraine, people could drive a bus across the border, open the door, load it up, and get people out. So the mass evacs were not something we needed to do. And one of the things about special operations is you do what's special, you do what other people can't.
OutKick 360 rolls on. So the Colts, they had another interview with Shane Steichen from Philadelphia. The interview's complete. And so now reports are they could hold a third round of interviews, Chad. Whittled down list of candidates. Or they could go ahead and just choose a candidate. But Mike Garafolo tweets out, the Colts are nearly done with their second round of head coaching interviews. They're considering a rare round 3. Sources tell him and Rap Sheet. If they go that route, they'll pare down the list to a select few finalists. Reports where they had 7 for the second round before making their decision on the next head coach. Chris Ballard and owner Jim Irsay, they're conducting one of the more thorough searches we've seen. Lots of candidates, long in-person interviews, around 12 hours in some cases. So another round to make sure they're comfortable with their pick would fit. That's him being way too nice to a process that doesn't have to be this difficult.
I wonder how many people just opt out after round 2.
Not this list.
Say, I'm good. But the list that's left, I'm sure they're all like, I'll go 7 rounds.
I mean, there has to be some credibility in being a finalist if you're a first-time offensive coordinator, whatever it might be, to be finalist for a job. That way you get some momentum moving forward.
Well, you're
through
also,
your agent, right?
I mean, you got to be thinking, there's only 32 of these jobs, first
yeah,
off.
and this is a
second
organization
you're the
that has won.
savior.
Yeah.
If you win there, people are going to say,
You've got the 7th pick, right?
You inherited a mess.
Yeah.
Right?
As long as, Chad, you would say, as long as you're not told you have to go with Will Levis, you should take that job.
Well, or just, as long as I'm told that the GM and myself will have say over personnel, and this isn't going to be a Jim Irsay, Jerry Jones type scenario.
It will be.
Well, suddenly he starts making every call on personnel.
He was also very patient with those two, Reich and Ballard, as well.
Right.
And then,
first-time head coaches, they may even accept that.
Probably. And you know who will? Jeff Saturday.
Yep.
He'll accept that. Reports where he gets to choose his own staff. I don't know if there's a staff to be put together at this point, based on everyone being at the Senior Bowl.
Good
Headlines tomorrow. Hope you'll join us starting at 3 o'clock Eastern on the OutKick Network.